Where are you at, Don Burr? That's right.
Wow. You know.
Come on, man. Where are you at now?
Pulling a Carm.
Just kidding. Hey, welcome to the CHGO Bears Podcast. I'm back. I showed up for the day after.
Damn.
Championship Sunday.
You got sick, and you haven't sat in that seat for a week, and the first thing you wanted to come in here and say is, where you at, Don Burr?
I saw somebody in the comments saying I liked it, so I repeated it. So shout out to whoever that was.
It is very Carm of you to just mention random comments off the top of the show.
Yeah, it was. I was gone for a week, so I had to channel my inner Carm. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman here with you. What's up?
Hey, Don Burr.
Before you get into that,
Yeah.
I got to welcome our new diehards.
Oh, they're so good. These are my people.
Because I like where you're going with this, but we do have to give a shout out to, diehards piling up over the weekend. We are happy to welcome you. Jefferson, Matt, Joe, Colin, Mark from Smokestack Barbecue.
What's up, Mark?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That was delicious.
I still have some of that mustard sauce in my fridge. I've been putting it on sandwiches even. It's phenomenal.
That's
And how about
fantastic.
this? Vladimir, a huge Bears fan from Serbia.
Wait, Vlad, we appreciate it.
Nice.
Listen, I'm big in Serbia.
I don't think we've.
Shout out to Nikola Jokic.
We have a huge international audience, and I don't know that we've had Serbia yet. At least not on the Bears show.
What about our guy from Alaska who came flying in over the weekend?
Well, that's part of America.
Might as well be in Serbia. You go live in Alaska. That's a country unto itself.
Detective?
Oh, I need to watch that. Hey, the only good thing about me basically almost dying last week, I got through the entire season of Fargo.
Oh.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was so good. That's some of the best TV I've watched in a long time.
Shout out Juno Temple, but more importantly, shout out Jennifer Jason Leigh and every scene she was in, especially with John Hamm. Ridiculous.
Yeah. John Hamm was great in that too.
Just high level acting.
Such an asshole in that show, but it
I know
was,
I hate
but
John Hamm.
he was a really good asshole.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what's going on with the diehards today, we got diehard overtime happening as soon as the show is over. You can answer some of the questions you might have. Martin's wondering if he can cancel his diehard membership and renew it so he can hear his name announced. We could just give it to you right now, Martin.
Let's go, Martin.
Thank you for being a diehard.
You.
There's your shout out right there. We appreciate it. And then the beginning of our Bears 100 database is going to drop on Thursday. What that is, and I know a lot of you guys that were with us last year in the diehard world got to see what our top 100 draft prospects compiled specifically for the Bears' needs. We'll have that all done by the time we get to the draft, obviously, but our top 20 is going to drop on Thursday. So that's a database that includes all the information you need on these guys, our write-ups on them, links to highlights, videos, all this stuff is there for you. And that's all within this easy-to-use database. So that's going to drop for all of our diehards Thursday. In the meantime, we're here for everybody at noon, Monday through Friday. We got a big week planned. Nick has been at the East-West Shrine Bowl all weekend watching practices. He just got through his last practice. He's going to join the show here in a little bit, and then he's off to Mobile to cover the Senior Bowl all week. So we're going to shift into a lot of draft conversation this week. I'm looking forward to it. I know Carm is not, so you got that.
I love the draft. I love Nick on the road. I love you. I love Lawrence. I love Doug Dyer calling out my interview with Glenn Morgan, which was a great interview. Whatever.
So what were you going to say to Don?
Well, this is what I was going to say to Don. Like, Don and all Lions fans, honestly, I'm not here to dunk on you. I actually feel for you. Because this loss, what happened to you, up 24-7, when you were sitting there at halftime yesterday and you finally thought that you weren't the Lions, like the Cubs thought in 2003 when they were up 3-1 and were just absolutely rolling over the Marlins and had beaten the Braves, and it was just like you weren't the Cubs anymore. And then all of a sudden, you lose a tight game 2-0. And then game 6 happens, and you know you got no shot in game 7. And that's what you did. You didn't kick the field goal 7 minutes in. 5 seconds later, you're fumbling the football.
Can I give you the Bartman moment?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
The Bartman moment last night
Vildor?
was off Vildor's face mask.
Right. And you
into the air, Brandon Ayuk catches it. All of a sudden, you're like, anybody watching that game was like, oh, man, the 49ers were
That was quite a double doink.
Right. I mean, you leaned on a former Bear, perhaps foolishly. My guy, Kendall Vildor, who I have spoken highly of, but Lord knows he did not have a great day yesterday. That I'm just telling you, Detroit, that loss, you don't know when you're ever going to get over it. Like, it took a miracle of all miracles and a 17-minute rain delay that people were calling for yesterday for the Lions, for the Cubs to get through it. But that thing is going to sit with you. As your head coach, Dan Campbell, said after the game,
I love him.
it's going to be so hard for us to get back here. We got a target on our back. We might not have the same energy. Right. You might not get back there. What could happen to you is what I think is going to happen to you. The Bears could win it the next year, and then the Packers could win it, and you're still sitting there and you're still the Lions, because that's what happened over here. The Red Sox in 04, the White Sox in 05. I forget who won it in 06, but that was nauseating too. And 07
the Cardinals won it in 06.
Oh, the Cardinals in 06.
This is your rival.
Yeah, it was.
That's a bad 3-year run after that happened.
You were there. You thought you were going to do it. 04 was supposed to be the year. You signed Greg Maddux. It all went to shit. You're probably going to have a big offseason. You're going to sign somebody, but you're going to be the Lions. This was a horrible thing that just happened to you yesterday. I don't want to say you'd rather be 7-10 and be the Bears last year, but you might rather have been 7-10, because I don't know. This is bad, and it's not going to get any better for you.
Plus, they're thinking, the season started with Chiefs-Lions. They went into Arrowhead and won. They're thinking, we can win that game.
They were all their heads were in Vegas. they were on the CHGO set. They had won the football game. And I mean, in our Discord, I was hanging out yesterday. People were like, "It's over, it's over." I'm like, one of my, just a litany of brilliant car moments. I'm like, trust me, it's not over. It's most definitely not over.
Well, it was a rough day for Don Burr. It was a rough day for Herb Howard. Justin Fields could be Lamar Jackson.
That's another whole side turn that I wasn't. I think that whole thing is moronic, but
I do too. No, actually, I was being very mostly sarcastic with that comment. We're going to get into more on those games a little bit later. Bear Forever 14, $5. That was the most Lions game I've ever seen. Also, I really don't want the Chiefs to win. The last thing the NFL needs is another dynasty. Well, they are knocking on the door of that. And Patrick Mahomes, I am just very happy that I did. I made one terrible gambling mistake yesterday that I will get into later in the show, but at least I can sit here on Monday and say that I did not fall into the trap of betting against Patrick Mahomes as an underdog in that game. I was all over the Chiefs. I thought they would win the game outright. And actually the Lions game, I gave them a chance too, and they were right there. So that all worked out okay. But
we had it right on the show. I said Chiefs all week, and I said Detroit. So if you bet the spread, and you made money, listen to us. Damn it.
All right. Now, been teasing this for a little bit. Had to get through it. Honestly, being sick a little bit last week helped me finish all this. So we are going to have a very Justin Fields specific conversation on the show today. And we might even challenge ourselves not to say the name.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
With the initials of CW, because this really doesn't have to do with him until necessarily the end of it. But just to set all this up, I think most people watching the show, if you've been following my work for a long time, know that I, throughout the season have a grading scale I use on these players. I am very open and honest about how sometimes I think in an individual micro level per game basis, it maybe doesn't quite tell the whole story, but usually when you zoom out and you look at the whole season, it jives with the moves the Bears ultimately make, the players they move on from, the players they sign to contracts. It, over the last 13 years, has been relatively accurate from that standpoint. And I think when we get to...
Humble brag right there. 13 years, Hoge grades. Keep going, please.
When we get to the end of this is all going to make sense for everybody that has followed Justin Fields, and no matter what you think they should do, whether you think they should keep him or not keep him, I think people are going to sort of understand the perspective of the situation as we go through this. So I just want to tease it like that. And if you want to, you can jump in and ask questions.
Yeah,
I don't want to dominate this whole thing.
No, I'm here to hang out, and as we get started on here, if you were to, before anybody freaks out on Hoge's grades, if you were to estimate how many hours of time you put into compiling Justin Fields' 2023 grade, just throw a ballpark out there.
Oh man, I don't even know. Well, for perspective, I watch.
Or forget about the hours. Like what?
No, I know, but even during the season, I watch every game 3 total times.
3 total times, team. So that would
and then what I normally do is at the end of the year, once the season's over, I go back and rewatch all the tape, and I'm talking about the coaches' tape. So that's why was today, January 29th. That I needed a few weeks to get through it all again, to watch it. So I don't know what that comes out to. It comes out to. Don't ask my wife that question.
17 times 3 is 51. 51 times 3 is 153.
Yeah.
153 hours minimum. So you watched it, then you did it again. So I mean, we're at a good 200 hours of manpower here, done by one man. I've kind of been hanging out. I took the dog for a walk today, but I've seen the skeleton of what we're going to get to. So everybody just keep an open mind.
I'm not going to lie. In some ways, it feels like a wasted time because when we got all the way to the end, it's like, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I would have thought just from watching the games.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, no, but you've got some nuggets in here. I know that's going to absolutely wow the fan base.
So just to put this all in proper context, we're going to start with just mentioning how it was in 2021 and 2022. And I'm going to don't concentrate on the numbers too much, but in general, if you're in the 2s, you're an NFL starter. If you're in the 3s, you are a starter that you would want to sign to a long-term contract. And if you're above a 4.5 in my scale, you're an elite player, like a blue chip player that, those are the ones you definitely don't want to get away. There's pretty much no nuance. You want to keep that player.
Right.
Unless you're in like salary cap hell and you need to rebuild or something like that. So we did see growth. Even with Justin Fields' wasted time rookie season, I thought he graded out as a starter that year despite some of the struggles. And then last year I thought he was a long-term starter. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat and asterisk on that 2022 grade because it was 100% inflated a little bit. Not even a little bit, a decent amount by the amount of explosive running, scoring plays that he had. I mean, he was, especially when you look back at like that stretch, that 4-game stretch that was like the New England win. They played the Cowboys. They had a great offensive game that day, even though they didn't win. The Dolphins game was in there too. Those were probably his 2 best games last year. Not even probably, they were.
Well, I mean, listen, he had the second most yards on the ground of any quarterback in the history of the NFL.
So if you were to separate the passing grade, obviously it was not, to a 3.47 in long-term starter territory. But that's okay because this is who he is. And that's part of the package you get. You get the running ability. You get those explosive plays. So that's fine. So now we get to 2023. And, right, you want to see the growth. And specifically, you'd love to see a lot of passing growth, right? Now, warning everybody, when this first number comes up here, do not freak out.
Okay? No, you freak out if you want.
Because there's definitely more nuance to it, and I'm going to explain it all. But this first number is a little jarring. So here is his overall grade for 2023, and it was a significant step backwards, out of starter territory. Now, before we get into anything, I think Justin Fields is a starting quarterback. All right? So there's definitely
for those listening, it's a 1.77 fringe starter rating.
Which we're edging towards my Highland Park High School GPA. You have to drop it a little bit further, but not the number you want to see.
Now, everyone is going to say and bring up the first 3 games of the season and how much of a disaster it was and how much a lot of that wasn't his fault, which I agree with you, okay? So let's pull out those first 3 games and show you how bad that actually was and how much that's weighing that overall grade down.
Oh, God.
It's terrible. Minus 3.33. We're talking about well below replacement level.
We're talking worst quarterback in the NFL.
And it wasn't good. I mean, especially against the Packers to start the season. And obviously that game against the Chiefs was just a disaster overall. The Bucs game had a little here and there, but then he had the interception at the end. And obviously no one loved that play call, that screen. Okay, fine. So what was the rest of the season like beyond that? So,
well, hold on. Before you move forward, let's just remind everybody that the way they started the season, in essence, is the reason why you have a new offensive coordinator. It's the reason you have a new quarterbacks coach, or it's a large part of it. If they had started the season relatively fine, even gotten one win early, or more likely 2-2 rather than 4-4, we're not in the same position. So it doesn't surprise me when you look at the numbers and what the offense was doing and how for some reason they were trying to rework what they had figured out from 2022. Those numbers jive. Back to you, Hoge.
Yeah. So now let's look the rest of the season. Weeks 4 through 18, remember he missed 4 games in the middle of all that, but this is just the rest of the season. How did he play? Back to a 3.30, long-term starter. So he's basically back to where he was a year ago. Not quite as high because he didn't have quite as many explosive, 70-yard touchdown type runs this season. But, okay, so you take out the nonsense for the first 3 weeks, especially from the position the Bears put him in, and he's at least kind of back to where he was last year. And he's a guy that, in most situations would keep him around. Long-term starter territory, at least because he's going into year 4, you pick up his 5th-year option. Just based on that. Now, I did want to pull out just a little bit more context to this because I think the Bears have even been guilty of this to a certain extent of like breaking down the transition point of Justin Fields where he started to play better this season to where he came back from that injury. Weeks 11 on. And the interesting part, and this actually sometimes I do learn, like something surprising comes out of this to me, and this did surprise me a little bit. From weeks 11 to 18, when he comes back from the injury, he was actually a tick lower than the 3.3 I just mentioned. He was back 2.57, so kind of just more in that middle tier starter.
Is that just a tick? Seems like more than a tick.
It is. And the reason for that, honestly, is the Browns game wasn't great. The Packers game wasn't great at the end of the year. And even that Cardinals game, he came out in the green on that one, but it wasn't a great game. His 2 best games were at Detroit, when the first game he came back, and against the Falcons, the second to last game. So my point is on this idea, I just want people to be a little bit careful. Justin Fields got so much better late in the year. Actually, the numbers to me show that his 2 best games were against the Broncos. That was his best game of the year from the way I graded it out and just rewatched it in the past couple weeks, guys. The Broncos game was his best. Unfortunately, they blew that game, but that wasn't his fault, really. He had a great game. And then the Commanders game, the week after that. So that's why the weeks 4 through 18 grade comes out higher, because that was actually, to me, the peak of his season. All right.
Well, he won 8 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah, that was the 8 touchdown in 2 weeks.
Right. It was.
So people really shouldn't be surprised by that.
No, and here's where the chat will come at me. Late in the season, the Atlanta game was sweet. And what the hell was Atlanta doing? They played man against him, which is not what you should do against Justin Fields. And it just almost seemed like the Falcons didn't want to be there, period. And Arthur Smith gets fired. Yeah. So, which is why the Packer game was just so disappointing. Not the first one, yes, but the second one even more so.
Now, I promised to, and I'm already seeing comments like talk about him missing games and stuff like that. Absolutely. It's all part of the conversation. So what does this all mean? I mean, his overall grade through 3 years comes out to 2.49. That includes everything, okay? 2.49, which is kind of a mid to...
You could just stop at mid, I think.
Yeah, mid. I mean, it's not somebody I'm rushing to sign a contract extension to, but it is still, hey, this guy is good enough to be an NFL starter, and I 100% believe that. Now, is it fair to basically throw out those first 3 games from this season? Maybe throw out that Browns game from his rookie year? Well, if you want to do that, his overall grade, because they did the numbers on this, comes out to a 3.01, which is just barely in that long-term starter range, which is, guys, why we're having this conversation, why we're here, because he's been good. He's been 3.01. Fuck, any Bears fan in the world would probably take that. We have a guy that you want to keep around. And so the Justin Fields fans that want to keep him around, I get it. I get it. Now, the only thing that I sort of object to within my own logic there of getting to the 3.01 is I agree that the way he was used in those first 3 games of the season was not smart. And certainly a huge reason why Luke Getsy's no longer the offensive coordinator. It still showed what he's not, though. It still showed that he's not going to be the guy that can be in the pocket, reset the pocket like even Lamar Jackson did at times yesterday and then failed to do later on in the game. So I think it's fair to take those games out, but you also have to acknowledge at the same time then you're admitting what he is not. And that's fine. Because a lot of Bears fans are like, I know exactly what he's not. Well, I just want to go to his strengths and run an offense around those strengths. And if you believe you can do that, if the Bears believe they can do that, then the conclusion on all this should probably be at a minimum to pick up his 5th-year option and trade the number 1 pick.
So, okay.
I just don't think it's that black and white because he's barely in that tier.
Well, look, I'll make the argument for those who want to use the Bears draft assets to build as great of a team as you could possibly build. I think the argument's pretty clear. You had an incredibly dysfunctional first season with Matt Nagy and company going out the door. Then you had a team in his second year coming in, right? That you're so desperate for help that you're willing to give up a 2nd-round pick for Chase Claypool. I mean, who's winning in that environment? Come on, N'Keal Harry. You're my only hope. These are not ideal circumstances. And the fact that he still grades out where he grades out is impressive overall if you consider the circumstances. So I think that is your it's not like he was in a great situation. We all know this. So I'm repeating what everyone says. But that to me would be the argument for him. He graded this. He's right there at long-term starter, and he had less than the best going by far. So you want to move forward with that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think and there's a question from Andrew, $2 super chat. How much does coaching impact the grade? I kind of have discussed that a little bit. I mean,
it impacts it.
It impacts it, and it's all subjective. Like, I'm not trying to put some number here in front of you and be like, yep, this is black and white. No, even when I'm watching the film, I don't know the playbook. I always admit that.
Your numbers are bigger to me though than ESPN stats and info. I go Hoge numbers.
And so people understand, like, if I don't know how a play was supposed to be run, or if I have any kind of gray area, I don't downgrade a player for that. And I don't, and usually I go try to find the answer. I'll ask, players in the locker room off the record what was supposed to happen on that play. I'll ask coaches. Sometimes I get answers months later, and I adjust a grade from 2021 because someone told me the story about what was really supposed to happen on this one play. So
that is a level of football nerd I didn't know you had. I'm very impressed.
You should never be surprised by football.
I mean, this is some serious football nerd Hoge right now.
Well,
goes back and readjusts the grade, ladies and gentlemen.
I've done that.
It is a working document.
It is. It's a giant spreadsheet in my computer that no one will ever have access to.
I mean, really, how does your family life survive? This guy's got giant spreadsheets that he goes back and augments years later after a conversation with a rando dude at Super Bowl.
It's not that dramatic. I'm just saying,
I want to just play into it. You're a complete lunatic. Keep going.
I'll ask.
Think Fishbane does this level of stuff? He probably does.
Don't question Fishbane. So I think now I lost my train of thought where I was going next with it. Oh, what I was going to say is now these tiers apply to all positions. So, and I don't think that that's not fair to a certain extent in terms of the question, well, do you pay this guy? Because let's just say a safety ends up in the long-term starter tier.
Right.
You're going to be able to maybe work out a 3-year, somewhat affordable grade compared to Jalen Johnson. Oh, now he's a blue-chip player. Okay. Right. Well, that's going to cost you more. With these quarterback contracts, there doesn't seem to be this middle ground that you can really reach. It's either you got to make this guy, pay him blue chip money, and that's the problem here that I think we reach with Justin Fields. Or if you're Ryan Poles looking at this, right? Like, so let's just say hypothetically Ryan Poles is on the exact same page as where I'm at with this, which who knows if he is or not. Who knows if the Bears grade this out similarly or not. But I think the follow-up question right away has to be, well, what are our other options? Or maybe you start with, well, do we have to pay him right now? No, but we have to make a decision on the 5th-year option. Okay, well, before we have to make that decision, what are our other options? And that, I guarantee you, is exactly how they're talking about this. Okay, what are the other options? Are there any veteran options out there? Oh, well, they're going to probably cost more money. Okay, well, then probably shouldn't do that. Any veteran options that would be better.
Right.
Cost you more money. Okay, then probably shouldn't do that. Okay, what about the draft? Oh, well, Ryan, you have the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams and Drake Mayer in the draft. Oh.
You said you were going to say that name.
Yeah.
You did it. I
didn't. We did pretty good. It's 12:26.
Yeah.
26 minutes in the show. I did slip up there.
Yeah. Yep. Just marking it.
But I did say it might come up at the end. But that's my point, is that I think for any other team, processing that information I just gave you, asking those questions I just asked you, they're not going to be able to say, oh, you have the number 1 pick, because they don't have the number 1 pick. They don't have access to Caleb Williams. So then they might be in a situation, well, we can't improve in free agency. We can't really improve in the draft unless we're willing to give up a ton to go get Caleb Williams. So let's just pick up the 5th-year option and move on. And that, again, brings us back to the situation where I think it's okay for everybody to be right at the same time. Like, I think the people
bad option.
I think people want Justin Fields back have plenty of reason that I just laid out here to want that. And the people that are like, that's all great, I acknowledge that, but the ceiling with Caleb Williams is probably higher, and I want to go down that route, I get that too. And so I apologize if this all came like as a long roundabout way of just like getting right back to the same spot, but that's why we're in this spot. That's why everybody who's talking about this every day is in this spot, because it is the reality of the situation.
So shout out, by the way, to the Panera 5, because I went yesterday to get my coffee after a very tough tennis loss to Igor, who...
Oh, Igor! I feel like we've heard that name on this podcast before.
I really wanted to kill Igor. But the point of this whole story is that I stopped in to get my coffee. There's 5 dudes, call them in their mid-60s, and they are having a spirited conversation about Justin Fields and Caleb Williams. So I walked over there. I'm like, hey, you guys ever heard of the CHGO Bears Podcast? So how many of you want to keep Justin? How many of you want to move on? Now, these dudes were 65. What do you think, out of the 5, how many do you think wanted to keep Justin?
I mean, I'm going to guess it's a lower number based on their age.
You think the older crowd wants to move on?
I'm going to say 3 wanted to keep him.
4 out of 5, the Panera 5, were in on keeping Justin. And I was, I'm like...
Panera 5. This sounds like a bad Netflix movie.
Well, I asked him, I'm like, you guys got a name for this group? And he, how long you been hanging out? What do we got here? I'm like, they all looked at me sideways and, okay, fine. All right, you're the Panera 5. Have a great day. That's how that one went. My point is that, this conversation is happening in all corners of the world. And I know Nick's coming up here in a second, but going back through it, was there any one thing that surprised you? Or anything that stood out, or anything that you, like, I did not see that originally?
I think the only thing that stood out was, and then I kind of thought about it more, and I was like, yeah, now I sort of remember more of the conversations we were having, like, in early December, even mid-December, and then it quickly changed back to keep Justin Fields after the Falcons game. But I think that was the biggest thing, is he, in my opinion, and the grades back it up, Justin didn't necessarily close as strong as I think a lot of people wanted to argue that he did.
Okay.
And on top of that, I mean, I think he slightly regressed in 2023. And I don't like using that word because I don't think it was a dramatic regression, because I don't think it was like a disturbing regression. I don't think it's something that you're like, oh no, this guy can't play, this was a disaster. It's certainly not that. And I do think a lot of it just had to do with mid-2022, how much his grades sort of got inflated by some of those really huge explosive runs. That the Lions game was the other one at Soldier Field.
Well, he had a historic year on the ground, and people were expecting a big...
And that wasn't backed up. And I don't count that as a regression on that side. I think that was actually... But I keep going back to our preseason conversation, which was you got to know the answer by the end of the year. And if you don't know the answer, that is your answer.
Right. Well, our preseason conversation, where I like to take it, we were looking at the passing numbers, the over-under that Vegas was putting out, and it was 27.50. And people thought that was a layup. And I thought it was a layup. And I made a bet that I'd shave my head if he got to 4,000. And people wanted to kill me. But I'm like, the odds are telling you when they put the numbers in that he's not crossing, not even actually getting that close to crossing 3,000.
Yeah.
And it ends up that he didn't hit it. So I don't know how many people bet it, but...
Well, a lot of that's because he missed 4 games. But that's part of what Vegas put into the equation.
Right. And people, he missed time because that's how he plays.
Yeah. Right.
So...
Which is the other part of this.
Which is why we have an elite backup in my guy.
Real quick. Well, and that's another part of this. The games missed has to be part of it, which someone brought up in the comments. And then also when you're going to look at Lamar Jackson-style play, how much did it hurt the Ravens yesterday falling behind? And the Bears have not really shown an ability to come back from double-digit deficits. The games that they win, the games they're competitive in, they have early leads.
Well, that's where, to me, and I'm not saying he won't be able to do it down the line, but if you're making the bet on him, are you confident that in the fourth quarter when you have to have it, that he's going to take you down the field? Because, I mean, it just
even not that, just like if you're behind in the second half, you're going to have to abandon the running game.
Right.
Can you win on his arm? And that's the big question to me. We got to get to Nick. Virginia's wooden clock chiming in here.
Let's just knock this one out before we go to
$1 super chat. Must be good. He had good games against shit teams and shit games against good teams. Let's hear the stats against top 15 defenses. Well, and someone pointed that out in the comments as I was going through it. I mean, the Broncos D and the Commanders D, those 2 weeks where Justin had his 2 best grades, they weren't very good at the time.
I'm uncomfortable by that Super Chat's name.
Yeah, me too.
I know. Well, it was worse a few weeks ago, or
that's
whenever it was. So it's at least a little.
You
can actually put it on the screen, but it's not great.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, she likes a good old clock. I get it. It's from her era.
All right. Empire. Let's put that on the screen.
Did you ever have one of the dingy clocks in your, the old...
My dad still has that cuckoo clock thing. It drives my wife crazy.
Grandfather clock.
Oh, we have that too. Not we. My dad has it.
Well, that's why he's Papa Hoge, man. That's his era.
He's sitting there watching TV, though. The clock hits whatever hour it is. You can't hear anything. It's just
it's every half hour.
Do you really need 7 clocks telling you that it's 3 o'clock?
So in that era was a bunch of amazing people who just made some bad choices. My dad's in there. We had the wooden clock. I mean, the grandfather wooden. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
Well, Empire today. You get shop at home convenience. The right products for your needs. Quick and professional installation and a low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring. Of course, they have copycats. But Empire cannot be beaten on quality, service, and speed, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Now, Empire is going to take care of you. They have their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture, instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. It's so much better doing it the Empire way. They pride themselves on convenient shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors where they use their floors so you can see what they're going to look like in your home with your lighting. Plus, they service their own warranties, which is huge. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO. Again, that's EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details.
So if you're coming out to join us in Vegas for the big game, Game Time is the way you should be getting your tickets. I recommend, coming out, just go the last minute ticket. Last chance, people just bail, and all of a sudden it gets a lot more affordable. But bottom line, Game Time is the easiest way to find and buy tickets for every kind of event, even the big game coming up. Bulls, Blackhawks, concerts, comedy, all of it. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour into it. It is the place for last-minute seats. And listen, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket. $100 off with the code VEGAS100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app. Use the code VEGAS100, VEGAS 100, for $100 off a big game ticket. Or, if you're not going to the game, use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase for any other event that you're going to. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Still got to be hoping Game Time comes through for this game Wednesday night.
Caitlin?
Yeah.
What time's that game?
7.
I can't go. So
Come on.
Cats
Come
at
on.
Purdue, man. The Northwestern men's basketball team is the greatest team I've ever seen play basketball. We'll see you in the Final Four.
All right. Well,
Look at this guy.
I don't know about that.
Where is this guy?
That's the star, man.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to come on the show. I got to find the Wi-Fi. Guy's just chilling in front of the Star
amazing.
in Frisco. Look at this guy. Nicholas Moriano.
Who's got a better life than this dude?
He doesn't even need sleeves down there today. Sunglasses.
It's beautiful, you guys. And you know what's crazy too? This is the fourth center where all the East-West Shrine Bowl practices were happening. Literally right over to my right is Cowboys Fit. Everyone knows I go work out at Bears Fit, but it's right there. So after this hit, maybe get a workout, get on a plane, go to Mobile, Alabama, cover the Senior Bowl. So,
Get
it's
with the
awesome
program.
hair, no sleeves.
We don't work out anywhere other than Midtown Athletic Club. You apologize right now because I know you were trying to make friends with everybody over there.
That's true.
Thank
True.
you. Bears
All right.
Fit, Cowboy Fit. Get fit at Midtown Athletic Club.
You
Go
got to
ahead,
be
Hoge.
Nick fit. Look at this guy.
That's true too.
Yeah. All right. Nick's been at the East-West Shrine Bowl practices the last 3 days. He's going to get on a plane to Mobile in a few hours, go check out the Senior Bowl. But, Nick, give us I want to go through some of your favorite guys. Inform us what you've seen the last 3 days down there in Frisco, Texas. Who are some of these prospects we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I'm going to direct all Bears fans to go watch some South Dakota State tape right now, and you got to watch Mason McCormick. He's a 6'4", 310-pound offensive lineman, you guys. He brings a nasty. He's been really competitive in the one-on-one drills. Today I was watching him. He played both guard spots, played a little bit of center. He did that in team drills, also in one-on-ones, and I got a chance to talk to him after practice. And I asked him for, people who haven't seen your film, how would you describe it? He said he just plays with an edge, and he says once he gets in between the lines, it's kill or be killed. So I know Bears fans are going to love seeing a guy like that, but he's been killing it here at the East-West Shrine Bowl practices. But Mason McCormick's one of the guys that I think a lot of Bears fans should start to familiarize themselves with.
And Hoge, as you know, this was also a track and field athlete in high school, and he threw discus. Did you?
He throws what?
It's called the discus.
Okay.
He placed and fifth in the shot put in the AA. That's right, buddy. Yeah, that's right. I'm doing research.
I was going to say, there's no way that Mason McCormick has his own Wikipedia page. This is next level Carm.
I'm actually using Google and not Wiki.
You throw out McCormick, and I instantly, I go right to the personal part and what's the history?
Is he
and
part
let's
of
go.
the Spice family?
I haven't gotten there yet. I can't, in 1 second.
McCormick Spices?
What about the McCormick Place?
Or McCormick Place?
Descendant.
His major was construction management, which means he could be very involved with Kevin Warren and what's going on, and that's why they should be looking at Mason McCormick.
Okay.
The Mason, bricklaying Mason.
Back to Nick for the real football information. Who was your number 2 prospect for us?
Yeah, and this is a guy that I highlighted when we were at Midtown Athletic Club. It's Malik Washington from Virginia, you guys. He was somebody – he led the FBS in receptions last season. He's not the big wide receiver.
No,
He's not the big guy.
I know
5'8", 192.
Dude, Malik Washington has been on my Northwestern Wildcat pregame show. I love Malik. I'm
Okay,
a
I'm
big
just
fan.
making sure you weren't Googling him. Sorry, Nick. Didn't mean to
pissed
interrupt.
when he left.
Malik Washington was at Northwestern, transferred to Virginia.
Had a huge year.
Yep. Yeah. So he's been translating what he was able to do his last couple years at Virginia here at the East-West Shrine Bowl practices. But when you see him too, Mark, and like you said, you've had him on your show, like he's a bit stockier and, pretty, again, not the tallest guy, but he's stocky. And I think he can live in the slot. He was able to do that throughout the 3 practices I was able to watch, can move in space, make some contested catches despite only being, they have him listed at 5'8", 192, but there was no problem with him trying to go high point of football and just create separation. So Malik Washington, the Bears need playmakers, and they can come in all different shapes and sizes, but that was a guy that was able to just win consistently in his one-on-ones and also in the team period.
Yeah, I mean, he's super fast, but he's also 5'8", as you're underlining. So this would be a gadget guy, but it's an interesting guy.
I wasn't surprised to see him take off in Virginia because I remember I was still doing sidelines when he showed up at Northwestern, and like he was small, but it was like
he's ripped.
This should be a weapon that they could get the ball to, pretty quickly, and it just never really materialized consistently to see him transfer and then have a big year. I was not surprised by that. So intriguing player, but definitely on the smaller side. Has some toughness to him though, for sure.
Yes.
Who's next?
Yeah, someone who's not small, you guys, is Miles Murphy, the defensive lineman from the North Carolina, 6'3", 312 pounds. I asked Mason McCormick who his best matchup has been so far in this East-West Shrine Bowl practices. He said Miles Murphy. He just pointed to his strength, and that's what shows up. When he gets low out of his stance, he's able to just, power guys back, and you can see that consistently with him. So I think Miles Murphy is a guy that made the most of his opportunities, was able to kind of just make those one-on-ones and show, like, his strength is something that can translate to the NFL level. But when he gets low, that's the thing, because there are some inconsistencies with that, but he's a very strong player and somebody that really showed out in these first 3 practices.
That was a huge get for Carolina back in the day. He was a 4-star recruit. The Tar Heels, not exactly your home for 4-star recruits, but so this guy likes to. I mean, I'll just tell you right now, Miles Murphy is somebody that likes to elevate teams and come from the bottom, which is why I love him as a potential Chicago Bear, lifting up this 7-10 team to the next level. I'm a big fan of Miles Murphy.
I know nothing
Good,
about
Mark.
him. That's why Nick's here.
He's a Tar Heel, man. MJ.
By the way, Nick's dumping all this information into our Bears 100 database, so
Not
another
MT.
reason to be
Oh, yeah?
a diehard as we get through all these prospects. All right, what have we done? 3 so far? You got 2 more for us?
Got 2 more, you guys. I'm going to go back. Another defensive lineman I thought did some pretty good things. It's Fabian Lovett from Florida State. He's 6'3", 307. The very first play from the team practice on day 2, he literally bypasses one of the guards. And then I think he forgot that you're not technically allowed to tackle in this period yet, but he just threw down the running back. But he's a guy that does show that consistent explosion and is able to get in the backfield, plays a good strength. I like his length. And, Fabian Lovett is a guy that, I think he has a little bit of versatility too, because they were lining him up on, both interior positions. I saw him one time at an end position. So Lovett is another guy that, if you're looking for defensive lineman help, he's somebody that can provide that.
Not a huge fan on Fabian because he,
You don't like his tape?
Not really. Well, it's more his process. The guy went to Mississippi State first, and didn't go the way he wanted to jump ship. Next thing you know, he's going to Florida State. I like guys who are, that they're in the trenches with you and they're not going to leave. Fabian, I get that Nick's seen the talent, but
Mike Leach died? Is that a reason he left?
Also, didn't we just talk about Malik Washington?
yeah, but that was different because
He was a cat.
yes. I'm biased towards Northwestern, so
Okay.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Although I hated that greatly, because why would you ever leave Northwestern? That's a terrible choice.
Great logic. All right, Nick, number 5.
Yeah, number 5 is actually a guy that I think Bears fans are already familiar with. I spoke to Taj Washington earlier in the week, but I hadn't seen him practice at that point. Now I've seen 3 practices with him. He is on the smaller side, wide receiver from USC, 5'9", 177, but he was consistently creating separation from the slot outside. He can win his one-on-one routes. But where I think he impressed me the most, and I think you would appreciate this, Adam, is just him as a gunner. Like, there are guys in some of those drills that are kind of half-assing the reps. I'm not going to lie. They're kind of going with the motion. Taj is making the opposition get a full rep to, just by going 100%. So I like the effort that he plays with. He was making some contested catches as well. So despite not having that height, the guy was just making plays, creating separation. He comes back to the football as well. There are a couple plays during team period where he's got a DB draped all over him, but because he's able to come back to the football, he's able to make the reception. So I really liked what I saw from him. But that little extra things that I saw just on the special team drills, like that goes a long way, showing that he's willing to, be a gunner. And also he was playing, he was blocking the gunners as well too. So he's doing a little bit of everything. But Taj Washington from USC is going to be my 5th player to highlight here.
Nick, do you like ramen?
What?
Okay.
Chicken and shrimp Alfredo?
This better be good because I have 3 serious questions.
This is very good.
Okay.
Well, what about a smothered pork chop? Would you eat that?
Yeah, I'd eat that.
Whataburger patty melt. Your guy Taj has got his own YouTube cooking channel.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what he talked about.
Wow.
Yeah.
No huddle kitchen.
Ooh.
So this dude can cook it up and play the football. I like him. Let's go.
I did notice, Nick, I don't know if you saw this, but we're officially allowed to say Caleb Williams on the rest of the show now that we're done with our Justin Fields segment. I saw Caleb retweeting highlights from his teammates at USC over the weekend. Mm-hmm. Some of the East-West stuff and shouting them out, celebrating them. And you had a chance. You mentioned talking to Taj. You had a chance to talk to some of these guys. What were your takeaways from, what you've learned about Caleb Williams while you've been down there in Frisco?
Yeah, talking to some of his teammates, whether they were on offense or even some of the defensive players, they only had good things to say about Caleb Williams and, to be expected. But, I just kind of wanted to see what he was like even off the field. And I forgot exactly who said, maybe it was Solomon, the defensive lineman for USC. But, if you didn't know Caleb Williams' face, you would just think he would be like any one of the other guys. He doesn't, hold himself to this higher standard. Maybe that's what is perceived on the outside, but a lot of the guys respected him. They said he's a hell of a practice player as well. They were saying that all those plays that you see in the game, you should see him in practice, some of the crazy throws he's able to make. So that's just from his teammates, but the opposition that have played him, I got a chance to interview a couple of defensive linemen, and some guys were just in awe of how he's able to throw the football. One of the defensive players from Washington said he just has a very unique way of seeing the field. And even though Washington ended up beating USC in that game, there were a lot of times where those players are coming off to the sideline like, man, he's got bigger legs than I thought he had. So I think there are a lot of these, whether teammates, the opponents that have played Caleb Williams, they have nothing but respect for the guy because he can absolutely ball. So I think that was insightful. And actually, you can go to allchgo.com and check out the article that I have on that. There's also articles from day 2 of practice, and I'll get to work in here as I'm traveling to Mobile, Alabama, working on day 3 practice take lists.
I'm sorry. Nick, start asking people, what can't Caleb do? What do you not like about him? Try to get some dirt.
Okay. I like that.
You didn't like that one, Hoge?
I don't know. It felt like that could have been a text message.
We're talking about his communications. Let's see if we can dig up some dirt.
Obviously, Richard Hightower, one of the head coaches down there, Borgonzi's coaching. What have you seen? What have you observed? What are Bears coaching takeaways from this weekend?
Yeah, so just watching the East team, which is where Borgonzi and Hightower are on, if you've been to a Bears training camp practice, it looks very similar to that, how they kind of operate with some of the one-on-ones, the team periods, and how they're kind of going at this fast pace that they practice at. So a lot of that, I think Hightower is able to take from, just obviously being with the Bears and take this to all these different, college players. So I've liked if I were to compare the two as well, I just think that we're getting more I don't know if it's like highlight plays, but we're just seeing more out of the East team in terms of passing plays and just what you want to see, just to get more out of the college players that are here. So I think Hightower's doing a phenomenal job with how he's running the practices, and you're just seeing a lot of these players, I think, make the most of it. But yeah, it looks and feels very similar to a Bears training camp practice.
What are you most looking forward to heading to Mobile, and what are you going to be focused on at the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good players down there, more players that have obviously played with or against Caleb Williams, so kind of getting their perspective on things. But, there's some good centers down there in Mobile, and Jim Dre, the tight ends coach, is going to be coaching the offensive line, so getting his, just his perspective on things, but just seeing, just a lot more playmakers that the Bears can add. There are also some bigger wide receivers down there. I know I highlighted some smaller guys here at the Shrine Bowl, but they have some pretty big receivers that can absolutely fly, so I'm really looking forward to going down and seeing what they can do there.
A lot of depth in that receiver class, Nicholas Moriano, and I don't need to tell you that, but let's why don't you find out who we really like and get that to Ryan Poles, because he has not hit on a late round mid-round wide receiver yet, so maybe this is the year. That would be
like that, Mark.
Huge.
Yeah, they obviously could use that. Nick, really good stuff. He's been Ryan Poles sightings down there, Ian Cunningham sightings. I'm sure. I like how they did this year. You can go. First of all, the Star. I haven't been to the Star. I want to go there, but it seemed like a great, perfect venue for this. And then
you gotta get a latte at Ascension Coffee right across the street, basically 100 yards in front of him.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. No, straight ahead there, down there.
Oh, okay. They have a CityWorks right there.
Ascension, yeah, it's just past CityWorks. Enjoy.
Oh, okay.
I normally can't keep my eyes off of Nick when he's on the screen, but the video screen behind you, there was a beach scene going on a second ago.
I'm guessing it was Cowboys cheerleaders on a vacation.
Yeah, I mean it's been quite the.
Some of it probably copyrighted, which we maybe shouldn't be showing too much. But
these things happen.
We're fine. We're
there
still
you go, Nick. Whatever your setup is down there, you're doing a great job. I'd love to go run some sprints right now.
I've actually stayed that building behind him. That's the Omni at the Star. There, I've been there. It's a nice place.
That place
I actually
fancy.
rode the elevator with Dave Wanstedt once in that down there.
wow.
Wani.
I mean, there's few people in the world I want to be in an elevator with, other than
Only 3 floors though. Nobody's
He's the
the
greatest.
I
I can't believe the law just dropped off that he stayed at that Omni.
It was for work. I was down there for I believe Big 12 Media Day. Might have been some other, maybe Conference USA Media Day. I don't know.
all right, Nick,
we
good
lost
stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Follow him on. I think you just hung up on him.
Good job.
Follow Nick on
do it
Twitter
like that every time.
at Nicholas Moriano. He's had some good stuff. He had some reporting over the weekend too. He reported that Dave Borgonzi did interview for the Bears DC job. And we should mention, if you missed our show on new Bears defensive coordinator Eric Washington,
Yes.
Corey Wooten played for him, and we had an outstanding
We really did.
emergency episode on Saturday that you're going to want to go back and check out, because then that's why we haven't talked about it too much today, because we had that covered about as in-depth as you possibly could with Corey Wooten's insight. Played with him both at Northwestern, played for him, I should say. He was his D-line coach at Northwestern, and then when he was drafted by the Bears, he was on staff with the Bears too.
And needless to say, Woot's a huge fan of the hire, and he thinks that, if you missed it, that he thinks that there's a great chance that the new DC will be able to elevate the Bears' D-line play like he's done in prior stops. I mean, his accomplishments at both Carolina and in Buffalo have been significant. So feels like the Bears threaded the needle beautifully with that hire. So congratulations once again to Matt Eberflus and Ryan Aurelius Poles.
All right,
When do we get to talk to Poles again? I can't wait.
the combine.
Quick shout out, hands
That's
down,
how that
$1.99. Thanks, Nick. Let's go. Thank you, hands down.
Hey, are you in the market for a new vehicle? If you are, we have great news for you. Our partner, Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fox Lake, starting their Ray Resolution with the Start Something New sales event. You know what that means? You'll be able to shop incredible savings on every new vehicle in stock, because they want to clear the lot to make room for brand new 2024 vehicles. I drove by there on Saturday. They got to clear that lot.
They got to clear that lot.
Ton of Jeeps available for you. And for a limited time only, you can get $9,000 off on new Jeep models with the dealer discount. That's why I drive. I got the Jeep Grand Cherokee with the third row. Absolutely love it. Great family car. And that's not all, because shop their last call on remaining 2023 Dodge Challenger and Charger models, including Hellcats, Scat Packs, and more. Dodge is the most powerful muscle car brand, so you don't want to miss out on their last call with over 20 Dodge muscle cars to choose from. At Ray CDJR, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories, drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect, thanks to Ray's Price Promise. And fans, right now, listen up, you can get a free oil change when you mention CHGO at the service counter, or mention CHGO when you book online at raycdjr.com/service. That's free oil change through the end of the month. You have to schedule before January 31st. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963.
And it's getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it, Adam.
That's right.
The electric grid indeed is evolving, Hoge, to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence toward an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
I got distracted by the words mock draft in the comments. It was like a dog seeing a squirrel. Yeah. So what should business owners do?
They should go to ComEd.com/clean. Don't ever apologize about getting distracted. It's okay. ComEd understands. But go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
You know I did. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
All right, we got CHGO Cubs coming up, so we are going to have to
Tommy Hotovy.
Tommy Hotovy's coming on today.
Sticking around with Craig Counsell as the Cubs pitching coach, similar to the way Matt Eberflus is sticking around forever.
That's actually the exact opposite. But
made no sense what I just said, but somehow, somewhere, someone understands.
Okay. Drew Black, $5. Can we talk about trading the first overall pick? Those are future assets. So when exactly does our super team come to fruition? What changes next year?
Drew, I got to tell you, I think we have time to talk about trading the first overall pick.
Drew,
I didn't even know that was an option until that super chat.
All we do is talk about that.
Just keep watching the next 4 months.
Drew?
3 months. Wow, it's down to 3 months. Let's go.
It's going to go quick. I mean, free agency is like basically a month away. By the time we get back from the Super Bowl, yeah.
Let's play this game. The Bears, you'll know that the Bears are trading or sticking with the pick. If the Bears trade the pick, they'll trade it by what date, Hoge? Draft starts April 25th.
April 25th.
You think day of?
I don't know. I could see it both ways.
Just put the weight on Hoge. Okay. Didn't mean to pin you down, so it's all right.
I've answered that question 67 times in the last 3 weeks.
And it's going to change every single day, which is why I'm going to
It's not. They're either going to trade him before free agency because the team wants Justin Fields before free agency, or there's not going to be as much interest as you think, and it's going to go down to draft day because those teams want to see if they can acquire Caleb Williams or Drake May first. And if they can't, then they pull the trigger on Justin Fields. It's very complicated. All right, Zachary, $10. I'm sure Poles understands that a great business isn't built on a gamble. Keeping Justin is a gamble on his own job, considering all things, contract play, etc. Caleb is a no-brainer decision.
Zachary, there are plenty of people that agree with you, and then there's plenty that will kill you for saying what you just said.
They're both gambles in some ways.
Let us move along to Matt Peck's here very early. I'm completely rattled. Let's $2 more from Zachary. 140 likes with 1,400 plus viewers. Come on, guys. Well, we're up to 231 now. We could definitely use more. Thank you so much. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed this Hoge conversation today, and we certainly appreciate everybody who's watching today. Thanks so much.
Peck's here because he's doing a secret operation with me that I'm not sure we're allowed to talk about.
Oh.
I have no idea if we're supposed to or we're not supposed to, so we're not going to.
Haven't been scheduled yet. Don't worry about it.
That's because it needs to be 8 minutes or less. Next question.
Oh, Lawrence.
That was
I
good.
can't keep it short. I'm unable to keep my thoughts in wrap.
Just read the super chat.
George Franklin, $10. I did not like that comment. Let's say Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is that guy and is going to light the NFL on fire. Does he have the potential to become a future diva when it's time to resign him? George, who cares? If he's lighting the NFL on fire, let him be a diva. We'll pay him.
George, if they get to the point where they need to re-sign him,
that's good.
They won.
Yeah, seriously.
They won. It's okay. For those that might be new to the show, that when Carm does that voice, it means that something was just said that actually did bother him.
Oh, I definitely am bothered, and there might be.
Sorry, Carm.
It's okay, Lawrence. Don't worry about it.
Just X $5. Do you guys not like Jaden Daniels? I think he will be as good as Caleb Williams. Bear down. I promise you, I will get into Jaden Daniels very soon. From what I've watched, I think there's a considerable difference. I think Jaden Daniels is Justin Fields, but skinnier and not as strong. That's what I think when I watch Jaden Daniels. I think he's incredibly special. I think he'll be playing next year. I think whoever drafts him is going to have to play him because he's so special. But he's a lot of one read and throw the ball downfield. So that's fine. That'll get him drafted in the first round. But I think there's a huge difference between him and Caleb Williams, in my opinion.
The thin frame is a concern.
Yeah. True Blue NYC, $5. Packers, Lions, Vikings all have better wide receivers, running backs, and play calling for their quarterback. Justin Fields had the least support. Despite this, we had 7 wins. Could have been 9. Yes. Braggs in the stands.
Who?
Rumor has it. He says, why do you guys hate Fields? I'll be in diehard OT.
Okay. All right. Let's go diehard OT right after the show. Check that out.
And then Big Cram coming in, $9.99.
My guy.
Hoge, now that you watched Justin's season, rewatched Justin's season, what would the ceiling be if they went all in on Justin, or would you believe that the ceiling with Caleb was higher? Also for shits and giggles, or with Tyson? No, I'm not going to answer that last one.
Hey.
Yes, I think the ceiling is higher with Caleb. I think if you're sticking with Justin, it's because you're accepting what he is. I'm not saying he can't get better, but I think based on the evidence we have, if you're keeping Justin and thinking he's going to get into that elite tier, that blue chip tier, you're really living on hope there, in my opinion. Can he be a long-term starter for you? Yeah. But I think Caleb Williams' chances of getting into that blue chip tier are higher. And that's the gamble you got to figure out. That's why Ryan Poles is the one who gets paid a lot more money than me to make that decision.
Larry Strickland in the chat right now. Can we stop with the next Mahomes comparison? How did that work for the next MJ comparison? Larry, he has some Mahomes-like qualities, which is why he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. And how did it work for the MJ comparison? It didn't work well for Harold Miner, but it worked greatly for Kobe Bryant.
I'll take Kobe.
Yeah, so like if we
could
have
say LeBron too.
We could.
I know you don't want to,
he's more
you,
magic and whatever else. He's just but that's fine. But I'm like, look, man, we'll take MJ light. We'll take Mahomes light. This guy is, again, reason why he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. It ain't going to be Drake May. It's not going to be Jaden Daniels. Whoever picking number 1, whether it's the Bears or somebody else, they're taking him. I'd be stunned if it wasn't.
Troy the Great James, $4.99. The toilet got exposed. They can't stop mobile QBs. What did Justin do to them? Brock Purdy used Fields' playbook, how to beat the Lions. It works. Well, to some extent, yeah. I mean, those scrambles, 51 yards. There's 4 of them. It was huge. It was huge.
It's a good underline. I mean, Purdy was not having a great day, clearly, throwing a pick in the first half and all, but his legs in the second half were huge.
I mean, Lamar whooped the Lions earlier this season, too. Didn't the Lions get beat like 40-3 or something?
I can't hear you say it again.
Didn't the Lions get like destroyed in Baltimore this season? Like by a
Yes,
it was
they
like
did.
That's
a
a
ton.
good underline. There you go.
They did.
And the Ravens are the first team to lose the AFC Championship game, giving up only 17 points in 20 years. Whoops.
Wow.
Woof.
Well, they
sucked.
They self-destructed.
It was embarrassing.
That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah, Zay. Not a good day for Zay.
It's like they're coming out and they're like, the Ravens told us that they wanted to send Mahomes a message.
Yeah, okay.
That didn't work. You killed yourself. You played yourself on that one.
That was the biggest pile of karma of all time with Zay Flowers. It just, you pushed down a dude and taunted him, and then he stripped you at the half-yard line. that is some serious karma coming back at you.
Yeah, that was not great. Hotel Whiskey from New Zealand.
Shout out.
Based on higher ceiling and higher floor for quarterback, where does the tape take you, Hoge? I'm a lean Caleb Williams right now. I think I'm not. I can be talked into. I keep saying this. I want to see what the trades look like. But based on just the quarterbacks, 1-on-1, and who I'm leaning Caleb at this point. I am. I think that's. It's worth the risk in this situation, especially as I said a few weeks ago. I think the floor is extremely high for Caleb Williams too. I think when we talk about these tiers with Fields, I'd be shocked. In fact, I almost see no scenario in which Caleb Williams isn't at least in the starter tier. Like next year as a rookie, which Justin did too.
Look, in this scenario, let's put it in dating terms for just 1 second, and this is going to really bother people. But you are right now in a mid-level relationship with someone who's kind of bugging you, but it's also sweet on like half of the week, and it's just and you have some really great times. And over here, I've got an upgrade for you, and in every which way, are you gonna stay with what you know because you know it so well, or are you gonna swing and try to create a greater relationship over there? I say you run. Go for the win. You're not married yet. You don't have kids. You didn't give them a long-term deal. You want to sign up for this for life, or are you going to go over here where like that person's like really pretty and super sweet and like maybe makes like, I don't know, amazing vegan food? Go over there and go for the win.
I'm sorry, vegan food? What? Why that?
Live long life. Have less inflammation.
Braggs' comment in there. Carm does not know how to end a show. Was very well done.
The king of ending things.
Big cram, $9.99. Also, when people bring up successful teams, those teams never were in the position the Bears are in right now with the opportunity to draft the best QB prospect with a pick that isn't their own. It's very, very true. Last thing I want to say, because we do need to get out of here, just on the games yesterday. I got to be honest, I did not hate the fourth down decisions from Dan Campbell. That's who they've been all year.
Come on.
You're acting like Justin Tucker is their kicker. He's not.
I saw he hadn't kicked a field goal out of the outside.
Outside all year.
Wait,
a little weird.
Hold on. They weren't kicking at Soldier Field. They're kicking in San Francisco.
Yeah.
You're telling me at 24-10 you wanted them to go for it?
Look, I know Michael Badgley. The 48-yarder was not a gimme at all. Now,
27-24?
let's okay, fine. The first field goal, it's 43 yards. That one I thought I would have taken.
Would you have taken the first one at halftime? Or would you have gone for it?
Yes, that's the one situation where you're that close to the goal line that you kick the field goal and take the points because the half's over. You don't get the benefit of if you miss, they're pinned back at the one. The mistake there, the actual coaching mistake that I have not heard a single person bring up, and it didn't get brought up on the broadcast, and it drove me crazy. Why did they call timeout with 10 seconds left instead of letting it go down to 3? It was fourth down. Whether you're going for it or kicking the field goal, it's the last play of the half. They had an unnecessary kickoff that the guy almost returned.
You're right.
That was idiotic. That was the one thing. Dan Campbell made 2 actual mistakes. That was one of them, and then the other one was that was insane to run the ball on third down at the end of the game and waste the timeout.
Oh my God.
That made no sense. The two outcomes of that drive had to be, 1, get at least a field goal. That was the most important thing. And 2, do not use a single timeout under any circumstance or the game is over. And to get down there and do that, that was the problem. The fourth downs, man, that's who they are. The first one worked, by the way. Josh Reynolds dropped the ball. The second one, Steve Wilks outcoached Ben Johnson on that play. The Lions called a play, a mesh concept, which you run against man, and the 49ers did a phenomenal job of disguising the coverage, turned out it was zone, play didn't work. Everyone always wants to blame the head coaches for this stuff. It's never the player's fault. Josh Reynolds has to catch that ball. It's a first down. That's not on Dan Campbell.
Although, why are you throwing I'm on Ra. Don't throw to Josh Reynolds.
Because Goff got flushed out of the pocket. He made a good enough job. And anytime on that situation, the throw's not going to be 100%. Your receiver gets paid to catch the ball. The second one, the DC outcoached the OC. Maybe they should have had a better play call there. I didn't hate it, though. That's not a gimme field goal, 48 yards. And honestly, if they tie the game there, does anyone think they're stopping them at that point?
Right.
They had to take the lead.
Okay. Look, it was just, to me, it was obvious. Don't give him a chance for huge momentum here. Don't put it on fourth. Badgley's hit from 50 and he's hit from 40. He hasn't missed from either of those distances. Let him kick the damn ass field goal, go up 3 scores, and when you're down 3, kick the field goal to tie the game. What do you – come on, man.
I disagree. I think they tie the game there. I don't think the outcome's any different. I think the 49ers still win. They had to take the lead there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And to your point, catch the football. I mean, you don't let the ball go off your face, Kindle Vildor. I mean, there's a million things the Lions did wrong.
Look, I'm not defending Dan Campbell because the third down thing at the end was brutal, but
that's
I mean that really gave them no chance to win. That was stupid.
So look,
but the fourth down things, man, you can't tell me that a team's philosophy that got them all the way to the NFC Championship game, their identity, they have an actual identity. That's been their identity. Yeah, but you can't then kill them for it in that moment.
They went for it the most of anyone in the NFL on fourth down, but it's 34% of the time. It's not they were doing it 4 out of 10 times, 3.5 out of 10 times.
Kindle Vildor had a ball go off his face. Josh Reynolds dropped multiple
I couldn't believe he caught the one.
I couldn't believe he
caught the one he caught.
Jack Fox had one of the greatest punts I've ever seen. They couldn't down it at the 1.
Yeah.
The players lost the game for the Lions. It's that simple. They didn't make plays, and the 49ers did. The 49ers who have been there got in the locker room at halftime. They came out, and they made the plays that the Lions didn't. Sometimes it's that simple. It's not always the coach's fault.
I 69% agree with you
to
throw out a number. But Dan's got his part in this too. He just does. You don't have to be a hero, man. You just don't have to be a hero. Just keep.
Dan Campbell did way more to get that team to where they were
I agree with you there.
Than he did to lose the game.
I agree with you there.
It's ridiculous how we do this sometimes the day after games.
It wasn't the day after. It was in the moment. I said it at the time, kick the field goal. That's what the only thing that bothered me about Cal was like, well, you can all hindsight. No. It wasn't hindsight. I was saying right then, kick the field goal. All
right, we got to go. For the record, I only threw 3 remotes when they didn't down that punt at the 1.
Yeah, that was.
How are you going to waste that kick, man?
That was a great kick.
Oh, my.
I know, the high bounce.
It bounced. To kick I don't even know that's how physically possible, by the way, to kick a punt that far and to have it bounce straight up. Usually that ball just keeps skidding and going forward. That's impossible, basically, to do what he did.
Brags After Dark tonight at 7. Hoge punting at 9. We'll see you then.
Die Hard overtime for you diehards right now. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon.
We all silly like the mayor.